when the World Trade Center came tumbling down. And I watched in Jersey City, New Jersey, where thousands and thousands of people were cheering as that building was coming down. Thousands of people were cheering.
Now, the mainstream media, without thinking, because it's Donald Trump, immediately dismissed that.
Things that we now know are totally untrue. This idea that there were thousands of people in New Jersey cheering the death of people on 9/11, it's factually incorrect. We know this is incorrect. There have been reports saying this is incorrect.
He says he saw it on television, but no video has ever surfaced. Jersey City officials say it never happened.
There are no reports, and no video that matches Trump's claims.
You know, I've always wondered about this one because I, myself personally, had not seen that. But now that I've seen the images of celebration right here in New York, burning the Israeli flag, the assaults on Jewish people, I believe that that did happen. And there's evidence to suggest that it did happen. Now, I was not watching TV around September 11th, 2001. I was actually on TV a lot. I was right in the middle of the carnage on that day and in the aftermath. But I've been thinking about it. I've been thinking about what we've seen. And I remember this, that mainstream journalists were talking about that celebration on 9/11, that people were happy when those towers came down, including perhaps the dean of the main. But the administration, Joe Biden, what is he doing? Not speaking out about any of this. He's still pretending that white supremacy is our big problem and has led to increased attacks on Asian people. That's not the case, but it works for them politically. Demonizing white people, that's what it's all about.
The threat of white supremacy looms large.
The dangers of white supremacy.
Threat of white supremacy.
The threat of white supremacy.
What a great danger white supremacy holds.
You see what's happening here? We've got crowds, marauders all over the place hurting Jewish people, and they don't care. They don't notice it. White supremacy that no one is seeing, that doesn't exist, essentially. Yes, there are some idiots out there who believe that stuff, but they're not a potent force. They are not an existential threat. This is really, really terrible. And a lot of white people of all faiths are buying right into this nonsense.
The really amazing thing that I've learned is black people know the truth. They know exactly what's going on. It's white people that don't know.
We don't realize sometimes, especially as a white person, how impactful, how offensive they are.
As a white person, as white people, we need to listen.
When it comes to race, white people need to listen more.
So many white liberals so eager to put themselves, their race down last summer, and so few white liberals willing to stand up for our Jewish brothers and sisters. I find that reprehensible. And these folks, the way they speak, where are they coming from? I want to show you where they're coming from incredible places of privilege and wealth. Pete Carroll, $30 million net worth, head coach of the Seattle Seahawks. Moving on, the governor of Virginia, his net worth, $6 million. Very easy to put himself down. All right, next. That journalist, Joan Walsh, $12 million. And this is fascinating to me. Her, Biana Golodriga, something like that. She's married to a former Obama administration official who has a big job in finance. They're worth $25 million. Right now in America, the unthinkable is happening, and we have to do everything we can to stop it. And for starters, we can't. Nick Searcy, welcome to Newsmax. How are you?
I'm doing great, Greg. Thanks for having me. Dennis Quaid let me borrow the hat he wore in that Reagan shot. So,
no kidding, no kidding. Hey, first about the documentary, America, America, God Shed His Grace on Thee. That was quite a moment. Tell us a little bit about that project, if you don't mind. And were you really on the phone with Joe Biden's office?
Yeah, well, I tried to be. We actually did try to call a lot of people in Congress to ask them to be in the film. A few of them did it. But, yeah, it's a movie about the relationship between the Bible and the Constitution and how the relationship between God and America has changed over the years, and basically how we wound up in the state that we're in now. And it's a very serious look at that issue, but it's also got some laughs in it, too. There's some humor that we'll keep the kids engaged and that sort of thing.
Excellent, excellent. Well, you can go see it at salemnow.com. But this is a major motion picture coming out next year. Reagan, Dennis Quaid plays Ronald Reagan. You play a major figure as well, James Baker, who I think had two big jobs under Ronald Reagan, Chief of Staff and also Treasury Secretary. Did you ever meet him? How'd you get into that?
No, I didn't meet Mr. Baker, but I read his book, and I was really glad. I was excited that Mr. Baker had all his hair because I got to wear a really great wig in that movie. And it's an honor to be part of this project. It's a really great film about Reagan, and James Baker was a very important part of his administration. Even though he was a Ford guy, he campaigned with Ford against Reagan. So.
Yeah, it was interesting, and he was a great friend of George H.W. Bush and was very close to him as well. They say this is the guy who ran Washington, but hey, we have a clip from the movie. It's kind of a unique clip, though. It's a behind-the-scenes clip of it still in production. Let's take a look, and I think we see Dennis Quaid as president walking down a hallway and being president. It's pretty cool. So is this thing in the can? Is this being edited now? What's the status?
As far as I know, they're in the editing process. I haven't been in touch with them in a while because I already completed my part, and I'm sort of on to the next thing with another documentary. And but I'm pretty sure that they are in the editing phase now, and looking forward to getting the movie out early next year.
Well, you look like James Baker. You really do. So you're perfectly cast, and we look forward to it very much. And by the way, you happen to be in one of my favorite film projects ever, From Earth to the Moon. And I believe you played Deke Slayton. We got a picture of that. This was an incredibly well-done series. And I even know that the shirt you're wearing there, it's a short-sleeve turtleneck. I mean, that's the kind of shirt Deke Slayton wore. If you don't mind, could you tell us a little bit about the attention to detail on that show? And for the viewers, who is Deke Slayton?
Well, Deke Slayton was one of the original astronauts who was grounded due to a heart murmur, and he became sort of the head of operations, and he was in charge of selecting the crews for each mission. And he finally did get to fly in Apollo 18, the Soyuz Apollo mission, but just a really, really wonderful character, a great man in real life, and an honor to play him. And another great wig. That was a great wig, the Deke Slayton wig, probably my favorite wig of all time in any movie I've done.
Oh, that was interesting. I was wondering about the hairline. I got one of those too. It goes way back. So, okay. So listen, you've been in Hollywood for a long time, Justified, great series. I get the sense that you might lean to the right politically just a little bit. Is that something that could disrupt a Hollywood career from time to time, or maybe, not give you entree into the right parties and meeting the right people?
Well, it's certainly something that I'm asked that a lot. I mean, it may be. I don't know. I try not to pay too much attention to it. The joke I usually make is that I'm working enough as it is. If I'm being blacklisted somewhere, that's okay. I want a lot more.
Well, you've done extremely well. And back to Ronald Reagan. You know what? I personally cherish him, and it looks like this movie is going to do him justice. There were a lot of cheap shot movies over the years that I didn't quite care for. I thought that this is a great moment. You made the phone call to Joe Biden. I want to show you and the people this. This is Ronald Reagan making a joke at the Navy's expense, but it's good-natured at the Coast Guard Academy about 31 years ago, 32 or 33 years ago. Take a look.
My Coast Guard aides have been excellent. One of them taught me that, and I quote, "The Coast Guard is that hard nucleus about which the Navy forms in time of war."
He seemed to so appreciate the crowd. This is an actor, great communicator, and he nailed that line, didn't he?
Yeah, he got the joke right. That's why they responded. Joe Biden tried to tell that same joke a couple of days ago, and he botched it, and nobody knew what he was talking about, as usual. And so, it's like he didn't do the joke right. Reagan was an actor. He was able to deliver a line the right way.
Well, so are you. Nick Searcy, so good to meet you. Congratulations on the new film. Reagan will be looking for it. Unfortunately, we got to wait until next year, but that's okay. And as we say goodbye, we'll take a look at Joe Biden totally blowing it and proving that he's no Ronald Reagan. Take care, sir.
Thank you.
I can only assume that you will enjoy educating your family about how the Coast Guard is, quote, the hard nucleus around the Navy forms in times of war. You're a really dull class. I mean, come on, man. Is the sun getting to you? I would think you'd have an opportunity when I say that about the Navy.
To rival Black Lives Matter, more intense. We're going to learn about it right now from Sam Faddis. He is the senior editor for AndMagazine.com, a retired CIA operations officer, and also Jonathan Gilliam, former FBI agent, former Navy SEAL. Sam, Jonathan, welcome. And first to you, Sam. I never heard of the Black Hammer organization. What is it? How big is it? And what are they up to?
Well, the exact size, I guess, is unknown, but it's not insignificant. They have chapters all over the country. It is an expressly Marxist organization, revolutionary. They disparage Black Lives Matter because they consider themselves to basically be, in their words, not mine, the tool of whitey. So they're too soft for them, not hardcore enough. They want to really get on with the revolution, and they're expressly violent.
We have a clip from just a number of members chanting some pretty offensive stuff. Let's take a look at this and then discuss.
Imagine a world without white people.
A world without white people.
A world without white people.
Sound too good to be true?
And back. This is Chief Ture with Black Hammer Organization's Reparations Corps, and I want to talk today about national suicide. Committing national suicide just means that if you're a white person, Black Hammer wants you to disunite with illegitimate white power states like America and to pay reparations.
Jonathan Gilliam, are these crackpots, or is this a serious thing that we got to worry about?
I don't know, but it's interesting how they picked the whitest guy on there to be their spokesperson the most in the video. But listen, this is just the ridiculousness of this is that, yes, they're more radical than Black Lives Matter or the Democrat Party. But many people in Black Lives Matter and in the Democrat Party feel exactly the way that they do. They support people from the Black Panthers that killed over 30 police officers in their heyday. The rhetoric that you're hearing there is not far off from what Black Lives Matter and the Democrat Party and the leftist Marxists in this nation espouse on a daily basis. It's just amped up a bit. And I think it's very important to see the relationship between these groups. One may only take it to a point where legally they're not going to get in trouble, but these other groups will pick up right where they left off. They may say bad things and disparage them, but the reality is they're speaking the same language.
So there's a guy named Ghazi Kadzo. He is the leader of this organization, Sam, you uncovered. And I think we have, we'll see him and what he's up to. Take a look.
You want to know why I call white Jews fake? Because they are currently killing the original Black Jews, Ethiopians, who taught them everything about their religion. Look it up. They weren't just born Jewish. They were taught how to be Jewish, and they were taught how to be Jewish from African people, boo. So how can I be anti-Semitic when I birthed you?
All right, I can't really understand what he's getting at, but who is this guy? How old is he? Where does he live? What's he all about, if you don't mind, Sam?
So Ghazi used to be a member of a group called the African Socialist Party, which is in and of itself a pretty radical racist organization. He's actually so hardcore that the African Socialist Party threw him out. He's expressly Marxist, expressly revolutionary. Look, Ghazi is also easy to make fun of because he's a lunatic. But, you know, the way this works is these guys keep crawling further and further out on the lunatic fringe. We have already seen police officers killed, and that's exactly where these guys are headed. They are going to begin to kill people, and then we're going to turn around and say, where did this come from? Why didn't we stop it before it happened?
I want to take a look at their mission statement and then turn it over to you, Jonathan. This is the Black Hammer mission statement. They have a formal mission statement. Let's go ahead and put it up on the screen if we can, and we'll take a look at it all together. Black Hammer organization exists to take the land back for all colonized people worldwide under the leadership of the colonized poor and working class. Our mission is to use our collective building power to unite, strengthen, and liberate all colonized. This sounds like something from the 1970s, Jonathan. You've got great FBI contacts. Are they taking this seriously? Because what I hear time and time again is you got to be worried about white supremacy. That's the big existential threat to America. We've talked about that before. Are they taking this seriously?
I don't think that they are. I mean, now listen, there the regular agents that I know that are involved in domestic terror investigations. These people take all these threats seriously if they come up on the radar. But like I was discussing with somebody yesterday about Andrew Cuomo here in New York and his megalomaniac ways, the FBI can investigate all that they want, but if the DOJ does not recognize this as a threat and does not go forward on this, there's going to be no further actions. The FBI will stop in their tracks. And so this is a very dangerous part about the way the federal government works. And this, listen, they are dangerous because exactly what you were just saying there a second ago, these people will sneak up on you, and the next thing you know, they have an autonomous zone. And then that autonomous zone turns into a town and then into a state.
Well, they have a little town right now, or something, a wannabe town in Colorado. I think we have some pictures of it. This is, well, they're hanging out on the outskirts of something called Hammer City. Doesn't look like much of a city. It looks like a ravine. I mean, they're just hanging around the rocks. Sam, can you tell us about where they are and what's happening here?
They were supposedly building a capital city called Hammer City in Florida. They've now moved to Colorado, where they claim to have 200 acres. You know, what they're actually constructing there, that's a good question. I suspect once it starts to get cold in the mountains of Colorado, they'll be less enthusiastic. But to give you another flavor for them, they joke about keeping warm in the mountains by burning copies of the Diary of Anne Frank, because they are also expressly anti-Semitic, as you saw in Ghazi's video that you played, and they think the Jews ought to be killed as well.
Sam Faddis, thank you for your work on this. You can check it out at annmagazine.com. Jonathan Gilliam, thank you for your expertise. To be continued. An expert on this topic. He's devoted his life to it. You got to check out his website and his film. We'll get to that in a moment. But Jeremy, first, welcome to Newsmax. How are you?
Great. Thanks for having me. It's exciting times.
Yeah, you bet. First of all, what do you think this thing is? And it was, I believe this is from 2019, taken from a naval vessel, U.S. naval ship, and they couldn't explain it. You've been looking at this stuff for a long time. What's going on here?
Yeah, so look, the U.S. Navy photographed and filmed pyramid-shaped UFOs and spherical advanced transmedium vehicles swarming our Navy ships. I obtained and released numerous pieces of footage with my mentor in journalism, George Knapp, and our releases were directly confirmed by the Pentagon. So what you're witnessing is a true unknown. These are UFOs in the true sense of the word. They are unidentified advanced aerospace vehicles. What we're seeing here is an object transcending from air into water. They call that transmedium. It appears to be transmedium descending into the water without destruction. This was filmed off of the USS Omaha, which was one of our stealth ships. This is an incredible piece of footage, and I'm glad I could get it out to the public.
So I want to play you this from President Obama, former President Obama.
Yes.
There's footage and records of objects in the skies that we don't know exactly what they are. We can't explain how they moved, their trajectory. They did not have an easily explainable pattern.
And, you know, he's seen all the stuff you would imagine, top secret, double top secret clearance. The government seems to be a bit more cooperative lately in releasing this stuff. Are they?
Kind of. This is a turning point. So former President George W. Bush was asked directly about the videos that I released last month, which are of the green, triangular, but actually pyramid-shaped UFOs swarming the USS Russell. So now this is President Obama being asked because I released this recent piece of footage where it appears to be a transmedium vehicle going into the water filmed by the USS Omaha and FLIR. Is the government more open about this now? Well, look, the American public has a right to know, has a need to know, and we have a duty to find out. And there's a report coming out this summer. So I'm pushing the envelope, trying to get more answers for the American public.
All right. This is the former director of an organization inside the Pentagon that had a responsibility for looking into officially. This is part of his job. Let's take a look.
Imagine a technology that can do 600 to 700 G-forces, that can fly at 13,000 miles an hour, that it can evade radar, and that can fly through air and water and possibly space. And, oh, by the way, has no obvious signs of propulsion, no wings, no control surfaces, and yet still can defy the natural effects of Earth's gravity. That's precisely what we're seeing.
Again, he was in the military, worked for the Pentagon. Jeremy, can you tell us a little bit how you got into all of this?
Yeah, well, look, I'm curious like anybody else. I'm a filmmaker, and I've developed sources over the years. We are witnessing in our airspace beyond next generation technology. The question is, who is operating these? What is their intent? So we have craft, aerospace craft, flying with impunity within our restricted airspace and around our nuclear facilities, as well as just our secret facilities. This is a problem. From the idea of just mid-air collision, this is a problem. So now we are confronted with this reality. The UFO presence on planet Earth is a reality. I don't know what UFOs are, but they demonstrate a technology that America wishes they had, and we need to find out if it's another foreign adversary that has it, although all indications are this is more exotic.
More exotic as in from someplace not Earth, extraterrestrial. I'm very intrigued by UFOs, and I am. I want to tell you something I heard once from Buzz Aldrin, of all people, man who walked on the moon. I asked him if he believes in extraterrestrial life. He said, could be, but we'll never know because it's so far away. They can't get here and we can't get there. What do you think of that?
That's incorrect.
Really?
That's incorrect. So that's the problem. I know Buzz. I know his standpoint. The idea that space has anything to do with it, if these craft are transmedium, if that's what we're witnessing in the video that I released, then they're operating off a propulsion system that is not a reactionary propulsion system. In fact, our military believes it to be a gravitational propulsion system. And if that's the case, if the scientists in the military are right, and this is gravitational propulsion, then the distances between stars become absolutely unimportant because you're operating off a different type of technology to travel from point A to point B. So those distances don't matter. So I think that, like most things, we're going to learn through time. There's more we don't know than we do. And I don't know that these are extraterrestrial. I know they represent a technology that is something that has never been demonstrated in the theater of war in the history of humanity. What does that mean? I don't know.
Now, let me just take one more look at this video, which I believe is intriguing, but now I'm going to take a skeptical approach. I mean, couldn't it be a smoky helicopter that just sinks? I'm going to look at it for a moment. I mean, I see a smudge. And again, I don't think it's just a smudge. There's something going on here, but, could it be? And it just goes into the water and disappears. I don't know. And that looks a little bit, do you remember the Brady Bunch episode where Peter put up the sheet in the background with the whistle and the light? It's just going back and forth. The UFO episode.
This is forward-looking infrared tied into our war systems, our most advanced Navy war systems. This is not a smudge. It's not a bird. It's not a typical plane. There's no rotors, tail, fins, any types of plumes of exhaust. That's what you see in thermal. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to tell you, this is a spherical advanced vehicle that is propelling itself in ways that we are not quite sure about. So skepticism is really good, but denying the facts is not good. We now have to look at this from a place of national security and national defense. There's a technology out there, and it is far beyond what we have.
It's wild stuff. Jeremy Corbell, everybody follow him on Twitter. Go to his website, extraordinarybeliefs.com.
Yeah, and just my Instagram is where I've been dropping UFO bombs all
morning since the November elections, and there are lots of reasons to be upset. Questions about election integrity, division in big American cities, and all sorts of horrible proposals from the Biden administration. But the message, Greg, I'm bringing is this. We got Brexit in 2016, and nearly 3 years later, Brexit hadn't been delivered, and we had some of the left-wing media boasting that Brexit was never going to happen. And do you know what we did? We launched a massive grassroots fight back. I led that fight back. We smashed the establishment in the European elections. We got rid of Mrs. May, who was a treacherous prime minister. And now, not only have we got Brexit done, which is the biggest geopolitical shift since the fall of the Berlin Wall, but here's the really good news for America. The Socialist Labour Party, who'd gone in a leftwards direction, embraced cancel culture, happy to talk down everything about the UK and its history. Socialism in England right now is unconscious, on its back, on the floor. We've beaten socialism too. And you know something? If we can do that against the entirety of the global establishment, America can come back and score fantastic wins too. That's the message. And there's no point being down and disillusioned. The grassroots, who are one of the vital parts of any campaign, have got to get themselves organized and mobilized. And that's what I'm here trying to inspire.
We love it. Hey, you're inspiring me right now. Very much so. The Queen of England, I didn't know that. I knew she made a speech, but I didn't know she got into facts like this or matters like this. Here she is on election integrity, and it's something.
My government will strengthen and renew democracy and the Constitution. Legislation will be introduced to ensure the integrity of elections, protect freedom of speech, and restore the balance of power between the executive, legislature, and the courts. My ministers will promote the strength and integrity of the Union.
Now, I was told that she is supportive in that message of a voter ID. Is that a fair takeaway from what she was just saying there?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I was so proud of those sentences. I mean, I should really be standing to attention right now as I speak to you. We have had postal mail-out ballots going on in England for the last 20 years, and a lot's gone wrong with it. So what the government now wants to do is to re-establish the integrity of elections, and showing voter ID is an absolute minimum, and how the crazy leftists